day, good afternoon, everyone. So I thought I'd just do a very quick stream about like 20 minutes or something, just from my thoughts on yesterday's game. I know a lot of people have already spoken about what happened, but I thought, I'd get some night's sleep, have a bit of thoughts on like what actually happened and how Spurs actually move forward from this. Last season we went to Arsenal and again we lost 3-1. This season the same happened again. And I mean, you could argue that we're just as bad, right? I do feel like at 2-1, there was a sort of chance for us to get back into the game until Emerson got himself sent off. But I do think the result yesterday brings up a much, much, much bigger picture that we're not really seeing. Conte was very frustrated after the game. I don't know if anyone heard Fabregas's comments about how Conte reacts to losses like this with his players. He either makes them run a lot more than they've ever run before, or he just doesn't talk to them. If he doesn't shake your hand after the game, he's clearly not happy with you, right? So just going into the game in itself, I thought the first half were quite even, and even near the end of the first half, I thought after we equalised, the momentum was with us, and we had a very, very, very big chance, I think, to win the game at that point. But we started the second half again, the same manner and way we started the game. Jesus scores from, again, another huge Lloris mistake, right, in another big game. And they scored. And then from then on, again, we were sitting back, which, considering that's normally how we play against these bigger teams, is not surprising. But I did feel at 2-1, there was like a 50% chance we could probably equalise, right? But for me, I think the bigger issue is that if you look at the lineup he put out, Emerson, a right wing back, taking away the fact he got sent off and that he did have like maybe a good few spells where he looked all right, but looking at the bigger picture, playing this 3-4-3 or even a 3-5-2, playing with someone like Emerson at right wing back is just not going to work. He's not the answer to our right wing back issues. And then some people say, oh, hey, Chris, you're right. This is like a last minute thing. So, like, for me, we can't persist with Emerson. And there's also a silver lining, right, that he's out of the next 3 Premier League games, but he might even play on Tuesday, unfortunately. But it's the bigger issue, right? Emerson is the biggest example of our recruitment in a square peg in a round hole. And I think yesterday it came to head that we can't carry on playing like this. We need to do something on that right-hand side. Otherwise, the whole season is going to be like this. Yeah, I know. I feel the same way, mate. Every time we go there, we start slow, and then we somehow get back into the game, and then we just capitulate again. What are you guys' thoughts on Lloris? Because for me, I mean, how many games has Lloris made mistakes like that? He didn't palm it away. He just palmed it into Romero, and they score a goal. Like, how many times has this happened that Lloris has done a mistake like that in a massive game? I've lost count now. I think people also forget in the final that France won. He made a mistake then, if I'm not wrong. I know they won, but he's just Hugo's a lesser issue for me than someone like Emerson, because if you're playing a wing-back system, your wing-backs are literally their creativity. If you look at Conte's Chelsea, right, you had Moses and you had Alonso, and I think they had someone else like his backups like Emerson, someone else, not the same Emerson as us, right? And then the wing backs, like Moses was like almost like player of the season, I think, that year or something like that. And Alonso, as much as we hate him, was doing bits for Chelsea on the left hand side, right? Right now, yeah, he has. But how many big games has he made a mistake, Mark? I've lost count at this point. But like for me, the wing back issue is the biggest issue in the team right now. We need to find some formula where on the right-hand side and left-hand side, there's some sort of productivity out of there. Perisic is giving us something. Sessegnon could give us something, but again, he's another one who's like a maybe, right? Doherty's just come back for his injury. Conte didn't even play him, and apparently didn't even play well for Ireland. Now, people are going to say Spence, yeah, but for me, Conte isn't going to play him because, number one, he didn't really want him. He literally says the club signing. So if he does play Spence, Lee will think, oh, I can just sign another player and Conte will play him. Just like when Nkudu signed for us under Pochettino, when Sissoko signed under us with Pochettino, Poch still played them, even though Sissoko was like a last minute buy, and the club, it was well known that we wanted Mane and we wanted Wijnaldum. He went and bought Sissoko, and Poch still played him, and he made a player. I say he made a player out of him, but he made it function in some sort of way, right? If Conte gives in to playing Spence, it's almost like he's saying, "I'll take whatever you give me, Levy." If that makes sense, and we just won't move forward as a club, right? If he plays Jed Spence, not because Spence is like a bad player or he's not the answer, right? It's all politics. If Conte plays Spence, not yet, mate, like an hour, but yeah. So like, sorry. So if Conte plays Jed Spence, right, it will cause an even bigger like ramifications in terms of the fact that he's like giving in to Levy, right? So people calling for Jed Spence, I can see in as for a player's perspective, right? Because he's looked like half decent when he came against Forest. He looks like he has the most pace out of all of our players. I think I've been told. So in that sense, yes, like we should play Spence. But on the other hand, if Conte plays Spence, I think we'll just still get the same sort of transfers next summer and in January, where Lee will think, "Oh, I bought Spence as a club signing, and Conte's playing him, so I'm just going to go out and sign another youngster, waste another like 20 mil, instead of signing another like Bentancur or Kulusevski or someone like that, right?" And we're just going to have the same old shit again every summer, you know. That's why he's not playing Spence. And I think unless there's like Doherty went down, I know Lucas is already injured, and we have like a crazy injury crisis. Because even think, for me, I think Conte will even play Tanganga on the right hand side instead of Spence. I genuinely believe that. I genuinely think he would, even though Tanganga wasn't that great at right wing back. But that brings up a bigger issue. Until we solve this wing back issue, we're going to have so many more games like yesterday where I know Emerson had some spells where he looked okay, but he's clearly not offering what we need on the right hand side. Perisic did something for me yesterday. He was at least going down the touchline, putting across. I think he didn't take his chance very well though, but we need that is the biggest issue, and we need a short term solution till the World Cup really down that side. So you either persist with Doherty, because I think for me on paper he's the best option, because at least he's played in that system before at Wolves. Or, I mean, if you play Spence, like I said, I think the ramifications of it are actually a lot higher than people think. As for our mentality, let's get on to that. Everyone says it's the same old story, right? But for me, I think the biggest issue is that we just go to these grounds like Arsenal or Liverpool. I know we did all right, Liverpool or in City, but I think that's more like historic thing, right? But like Arsenal and Chelsea, and we just particularly those two derbies, right? Arsenal and Chelsea, and it's almost like we go there expecting to lose, and I think the players at the same time they're not confident in winning the game. Even Conte, it was damning for me that he actually brought on those 4 substitutions in the game. I know we were 10 men, but it's like he gave up. I've never seen Conte give up on a match. As you know, I've watched him at Chelsea, for example. I never saw him give up on a game and bring on so many defensive players and give them, as he said, minutes. Like Skip looked all right when he came on, but I think it says a lot that he actually gave up on the game with 20 minutes to go. Because it clearly showed for me that we didn't have any options off the bench to actually change it and give us something. And I don't know, I think the Gill thing for me was like a big eye opener. The fact that we have a player there who isn't an attacking option. It was the only attacking option on the bench. And he told him to warm up. 5 minutes later, he doesn't bring him on. He tells him to sit down again. Because Gill himself, we know he doesn't want to be here, right? So he's taking up a slot in the squad, right? Where we could have gone out and bought an actual creative player that Conte would have actually used. So it's like Gill isn't going to play unless again there's an injury crisis, and he's only on the bench to fill a slot. Really, I mean, he was never going to play yesterday unless something crazy happened. No, I honestly, Bob, I totally agree with you. I, I'm only echoing what people are saying that as a fan base. Like, I keep reading, we should play Spence, blah blah blah, and I'm not saying he's bad, and I'm not saying he's like the answer either. But I think if Conte plays him, it's more political in the sense that it will basically tell Levy, oh, whatever play you sign, I'll play. So, but like he deserves a chance, and I think his first game will probably against Forest away in the cup. But again, he doesn't mean he's the answer, because one of the most important positions in the Conte system, we didn't go out and sign a player. I still don't understand it. I still don't. And if you think about the money we spent on Spence, I think it was like 10, 15 million. Atletico Madrid are also interested in Emerson. If Lucas was supposedly going to be that player who can play at right wing back, right? And because he's not going to get a game in the front three with Richarlison and Son and Kane. So it's the reason why it's the issue. You could stick anyone there, and I think no one will be happy really with the choice, whether it's Spence, Doherty. I've seen people criticize Doherty's performance yesterday, which is like legitimate. He wasn't amazing, but he wasn't great either. And obviously everyone slates Emerson pretty much. I haven't seen anyone else slate Emerson yesterday. And that is the biggest issue in our team, is the right wing back position. Sorry. As for the front three yesterday, Kane, apart from his penalty, I don't think he did much. Son, again, I thought he looked okay in spells in the first half, but again, to be quite honest with you, I don't think he's had more than 30 minutes over the whole minutes this season where he's actually looked good. His hat trick was about it in that game, and I haven't seen anything since. Yesterday, that showed me that he's in form again. As for Richarlison, again, he wasn't that great. I think for me, he's struggling position-wise in the sense that I don't think he's effective on the right. He either have to play him in the middle or on the left. And we did really, really, really miss Kulusevski yesterday, not only because of his creativity, but also his hold-up play. He would have, I think, possibly helped out Emerson more than Richarlison did, because Richarlison, again, like I said, I don't think his right side is his best position. I don't think is his preferred position, either. As for the midfield too, Højbjerg for me looks tired. I think Skip definitely deserves to play on Tuesday. Højbjerg in the second half, once we were down to 10, just capitulated. And I don't think it's totally his fault, like I said. For me, he looks tired. Bentancur, for me, I don't know if you guys disagree, right? But Bentancur for me was the best player for us yesterday. In both halves, he was winning the ball back, his usual self, driving. Even when down 10 men, I don't know if you noticed, he was driving, trying to get the ball out the pitch, pressing high. He was the only player for me who can really come off the pitch and have a bit of decency, like not look like an absolute disgrace. Dyer again, not a fan. Longley, I thought, was probably the best of the three at the back. Romero even was wild yesterday. I know he joined the attack a few times, but even he's gone a bit off the boil. And like I said, the biggest issue is just there's too many square pegs in round holes, right? So until we fix that issue in general, not just for our recruitment, but in just the way we set up, you can't have a slow right wing back playing a right wing back. It's just not going to work. And I'd even have more confidence in someone like Lucas when he comes back. Just chuck him on the right wing back. I know it's not his position. I know someone will say, oh, Lucas is worse than Emerson or whatever playing right wing back. But at least with Lucas, you have a lot more pace, and he has at least some attacking. You get something from him attacking wise, right? And if we want to play higher up the pitch, you need a right wing back in that sort of style. If you look at Conte's previous wing backs he's had, is most of the time it's like a winger who's converted into a wing back. With Emerson, it's like doing the opposite thing. You try and convert a fullback into a wing back, it's just not going to work. And the way, like with Victor Moses, for example, at Chelsea, right, he was primarily a winger, and Conte transformed into such a good player, right? And you look at someone like Perisic, even he was a winger. Conte converted him into a wing back. So the Lucas experiment, I think, is actually a better option than Emerson, even as well. I just sound like an Emerson hate stream, but like in conclusion, this is going to keep happening until we find a solution to this wing back issue and a solution to just the way the club approaches these sort of games, or the team approaches these sort of games. I never felt confident we are going to win yesterday, but at the same time, on the Conte, I thought we'd get a result. But once Emerson made that stupid tackle, and I still, to life of me, do not understand what he was thinking. It was all the way in the Arsenal half. I don't know what he was thinking making that challenge on Martinelli. It was nowhere near the ball. It was just stupid. It was just stupid. Until those issues are addressed, and until we stop putting square pegs in round holes, and until the mentality of the players is correct in these sorts of games, the same things are going to keep happening. So yeah, looking forward to Frankfurt. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not really that confident. I'm really not confident. After Lisbon, I think again the players in the mentality sense, rather than being scared of the opposition, it's almost like we thought we could turn up at Lisbon and win. And that's my biggest fear at Frankfurt, especially because Frankfurt are not the same side they were last year. And I want to see some changes. I want to see Skip come in. I want to see Doherty at least start a right wing back, not Emerson, because surely Conte shouldn't trust him after what happened. I want to see us play maybe a 3-5-2 with some like Richarlison and Kane up front, or Richarlison and Son up front, even. Just something different. And Basuma deserves a start for me. He's looked a lot better when he's come on. I think Højbjerg needs to be rested, so I'll go something like Skip, Bentancur, and Basuma as a 3. Doherty, and I hope Perisic, but I mean, he might put in Cess. And something like either Kane, Son, and Richarlison in the 2, whichever combination. But ideally, who are you going to pick? Because all 3 of them weren't great yesterday. And then the back 3, I guess, persist with Longley, Tyre, and Romero again, and Lloris in goal, because we just don't have the options that this supposed amazing transfer window gave us. Because again, maybe 2 or 3 of those players we signed have actually made an impact in the team. We're talking Perisic, Bissouma somewhat because he's played a bit, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. we need to change the mentality of the players approaching these big games, and also just not the way we set up, the personnel we use in these positions, because like I said, the right wing back issue is a bigger issue because you need a specialized player to play as a wing back. It's not something that you can just say, oh, Tanganga, you're a defender, go play wing back. It doesn't work like that. Emerson, yes, he's a defender, but he's a very negative defender, right? He won't attack. Even in a 4, when he played under Nuno, he didn't attack that much. He really didn't. And I can only recall, I think, one game, I think it was Palace, maybe, Was it Palace or some other game where he looked okay? But even in a 4, Emerson didn't attack. So you're not going to be able to convert him into a wing back. It's just not going to work. You need... it's a wing back position is a specialized position, right? You need to go out in the market and sign a specialized wing back like we did with Perisic, but we need on both sides. So until that happens, I think we're just going to struggle. And for people criticizing Conte's style, given the players we have, we don't have a controlling player in the middle of the park like Chelsea had Fabregas, right? Or even Kante in some sense, because Kante would drive with the ball forward and at least keep hold of the ball for Chelsea and allow Hazard and Costa and Pedro, I think it was back then, to come up the pitch. Until we solve that issue, again, we're going to have problems. Bentancur and Højbjerg, they're okay. They're good midfielders. Højbjerg's good. He can do a job. He's limited in terms of, how much he can do, but at least he can hold the midfield, or him or Skip can hold the midfield. Bentancur's the more creative one, but again, he's more of like a ball recycler. Basuma is the only one, if you look at our midfielders, who can actually get the ball and drive forward. If we're going by his Brighton performances, yeah. But Conte doesn't want to play him that much. So, and the reason I think Chelsea got away with a 3-4-3 before being outnumbered in midfield is just because of N'Golo Kante, because Kante is still, for me, like one of the best midfielders in the world. And he's essentially 2 players. He's doing 2 jobs in that Chelsea midfield alongside Matic or Fabregas. The fact that Chelsea could put out Kante with Fabregas in some games speaks volumes on the quality of those 2 players have. And again, in the market, we didn't sign a creative player. We don't have a Fabregas in the midfield. So how are we going to get the ball and hold on to it and actually have more possession-based football where we don't have the players capable of playing possession-based football? like Bensk and Højbjerg, they're not the pairing for me that can play possession-based football. Again, you could play Skip, but Skip more. I don't know if people see previous performances. Skip will sit and he'll spray balls like this, but he won't drive with the ball that much. So how are we gonna get out the pitch? You're playing so many square pegs in round holes, and it was so evident yesterday. Like, and for me, even the front three, I own a record to say this on someone else's channel, but Richarlison is weakest on the right. So because we didn't go out and sign another attacking player, and Gil's taking that spot, we can't put Richarlison on the left and actually have someone else on the right, or someone else in the middle, Lucas on the right, and someone. If we just talk about the backups here, so yesterday Brian Hill was just basically a wasted like position on the bench, literally completely wasted. And I mean, Conte. People saying Conte out for me is just stupid because for me, where do we go after Antonio Conte? Can someone please give me a manager? Where would you go after Antonio Conte? Because we've tried Mourinho, we've tried Pochettino, who for me was like a luck. We had Redknapp, who built us like a brilliant side. But again, we had the Salah and Nelson window. The team had a structure then, but I think even with Conte's side now, because there's so many square pegs around holes and players who just are taking positions in the squad where we could have someone better or someone Conte will actually use, it's just pointless. The bench yesterday proved that. But if you think about it, the bench looks so bad with 2 injuries, right? You just had Lucas and Kulu out, and people are saying, "Oh, the bench is awful." But that's because Brian Hill was a player there, not because Hill was like a bad player. I actually quite like Hill, but he doesn't want to be at Tottenham. He's just filling a slot on the bench. That's why he didn't come on, and Conte knows this. I think we all know this. So, I mean, I would just say Levy out. But we need to find at least like a short-term solution for this wing-back issue and a short-term solution for the midfield, because part of that we're being overrun. We're not getting up the pitch quick enough. And the mentality of these players needs to be, they need to know what they need to do, right? In these big games, we need to approach a more positive mindset. Not us as fans, but the players need to. And have more belief in themselves that they can go to Arsenal and actually win. As for games like on Tuesday, the players need to know that need to go there and do a job, right? Not just turn up and think, oh, I can just stroll around for like 90 minutes. Kane might get a goal, Son might get a goal, and we'll be all right. Because I'm quite scared for Tuesday now. Yeah, anyway, I think we'll end the stream there, and come on, you Spurs.